Quench, brothers, baby, got to get liquid inside me. Quench, my hot spot, don't stop, earning, yearning for my love. Quench my hot desires, please stop me quick to put out the fire. Now throw me in a trench, cause I got me in a trench, just quench.
It's a special edition today. We're featuring my sister, Dawn Kramer, on trumpet.
Quench, brothers, baby, got to get liquid inside me. Quench, my hot spot, don't stop, earning, yearning for my love. Quench my hot desires, please stop me quick to put out the fire. Now throw me in a trench, cause I got me in a trench, just quench. I'm so thirsty, just quench. I'm so thirsty, won't you please stop me? You put out the fire, now throw me in a trench, cause I gotta get drenched, just...
Moi je rêve en cascade.
Welcome, Dawn. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And this is perfect opportunity because it's actually my birthday today, July 30th. So it's a fun little family event. And our tonic of the day is a watermelon margarita. Dawn is a special mixologist.
I'd say that, but I do laugh.
Here we go.
Cheers, happy birthday.
It seems to roll around every year or so. Okay, so what is in a watermelon margarita?
We kind of got the idea from our Aunt Nancy up in Steamboat. We were up there visiting her one time, and so she made them. But so basically it's just making a puree out of watermelon. I froze it first, but then I had to it wouldn't quite blend down. So I actually had to let them thaw a little bit. So it's really just like a watermelon puree and tequila and a little bit of lime juice. And then I did add a little bit of simple syrup. Kind of depends on the sweetness of the watermelon. And the simple syrup is kind of fun. It's just 1-to-1 sugar and water. You melt it, you kind of boil it down and then simmer it just so those sugar melts. But at that point you could do a bunch of different infusions. So sometimes I've done basil. You put a bunch of fresh basil in it and let it steep in that. Or you could do mint or ginger. That's where you can like add extra little flavors. So I need to do that because I have more watermelon juice. So maybe like a nice mint watermelon margarita is in store for next.
No,
it's better.
I like to include recipes on Sonic Tonic so that people can actually move in a new direction, hopefully, and learn some things. So yeah, we'll make sure and list that so people can try this at home because it's really awesome. In fact, let's enjoy it again.
Yeah. Yeah, super summery.
It is. It's awesome. while we're enjoying this, let's hear a little bit of the salsa section of this song that we're both playing on. It's a song I wrote many years ago called Quench. Here it is.
Quench.
Tengo yo, no, aguanto, celda, tengo yo, quítamela. Inside me, quench. My hot spot, burning from my love. Eyes, please stop me quick. You put out the fire, now throw me in a trench. Cause I gotta get dressed, please stop me quick. I gotta stop the stench. I'm so damn thirsty, I've got to mention quench.
All right.
That's actually on the track. Welcome, everybody. Once again, I'm Darren Kramer. This is Dawn Kramer, my sister. We've been both musicians our whole life. And as you're going to find out, Dawn's very passionate about food and drink. She has her own recipes and business for a vegetarian and vegan bakery. And she's just always cooking something awesome. And so she puts a lot of time and energy into that. And it's just one of her raw passions. So we're going to get to that later. This has been an interesting time of this transition, which has kind of spawned this show of how to, kind of take life as it comes and notice what you love and kind of analyze why you love it and then do more of that and share it with the world. So why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about what kind of life you've led as a freelance trumpet player?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I went to, like Darren said, we started early. I was like in 5th grade and then went to college for music. I went to University of Colorado, got a music performance degree. And from that point, I just pretty much started freelancing from then. But when I was in college, I think that my focus was thinking that I was going to be an orchestral player or more classical or something like that. As I got through college, though, I was like, I just wanted more variety. And I learned how incredibly difficult it is to just land a one gig. Like the orchestra stuff is nuts, like so much competition. And I don't know that I had that big of a drive for that style of music to make that my huge passion. So I just kind of decided I like playing a bunch of different things. So I was doing jazz at the time in college. And then salsa came soon after that. And you kind of introduced me to that, Darren. With Conjunto Colores, you've been playing with them forever in town, and then you had gone to Vegas and was playing with the salsa band out there, and so he got me on a gig out there, and it was that kind of just spurred the whole variety of music that I think keeps me happy, and actually keeps me employed, to be perfectly honest.
A little of this, a little of that, right?
Yeah. If I had to focus all on classical or all on jazz or something, I don't I wouldn't be working that much, I don't think. You know, I mean, I'd be doing okay probably, but it's turned out great. And a lot of it is I do some of the shows at the Buell, which is a variety of styles involved for that too, which that's kind of, it just was a default of like, oh, that actually works out well, knowing a bunch of different styles.
If a lot of people might not know what the Buell is, it's the main theater in downtown Denver where they bring in all, you know, national touring shows. And so one of the big ones you did was the premiere launching of Frozen.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
That was
which goes along with our Margarita theme. There we go.
Yeah. That was 3 years ago. That's actually happened a few times in Denver, which speaks pretty highly of the musicianship here. Is they start tours here, so they come here, they practice, all the actors from New York and everything, and then they're kind of just housed here for a month or whatever, doing rehearsals. Then we usually do anywhere from 5 to 7 weeks or so of an opening where they're tweaking it, and then it goes to Broadway or on tour or something. So. That was one of the highlights doing Frozen. It's just a whole notch above any other kind of gig in terms of professionalism that I have been a part of. And yeah, Darren and you're so much the same like that, in that it makes such a huge difference. If you just go and you get to just play your instrument and everyone else is kind of taking care of their thing and they're all at the top of their game in terms of writing music and orchestration and conducting. All the crew people, everything was just so dialed in, and that was at the start of a show, which I think is amazing that it can come off that well. So, and
that goes right along with Sonic Tonic Experience, the concept that all the ingredients matter, and if you have more quality per ingredient, the end product really by default is better.
Yes.
So you're saying not only the charts are organized, so there's not typos on them, there's not mistakes, the voicings are awesome, and then you're sitting next to these other players who are total professionals and know how to read music, know how to interpret it, know how to play together. You have a great conductor, you have a great play along track if you have any of those, the dancers, just the people that greet you when you show up. You know, we as musicians, we always have to come in the back door, right? It's like but they point you this way and say, here, go here, and they offer you some water. I mean, all of that matters, and it's so neat to experience that. And we were just talking about this week, where I listened to the podcast of Tim Ferriss with Hugh Jackman as the guest, and
yes.
I listened to that because of your recommendation and glowing review of how beautiful of a human being Hugh Jackman is. So why was that experience also one of your top ones? I couldn't, like, I've done, I don't know, a handful of like those big shows. That one was at the Pepsi Center. I've done a couple at Red Rocks with big names. But he was by far the most gracious. And that we actually just passed the 1 year anniversary of that. I think it was like July 10th or something maybe. He came and he was at the rehearsal, first of all, the sound check that we're all supposed to be at. He was there for the entire thing, which is also completely unusual. But he came up after the rehearsal. We're all kind of packing up our stuff, to every individual, shook our hands, got our name, and said hello, and like a little bit of chit chat with everybody. And it was like there were probably 12 or 15 of us, local people. It's just unusual. And it's like, it's, you know, and for some people may think, well, that's not that big of a deal, but it is when you put it in context with, he's doing one-nighters all over the country. And every time he goes to it, you know that that's what he's doing. And it was fun on Facebook actually seeing some friends across the country were all like saying, and before I even had done it, they're like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best shows, one of the best experiences. And so I was excited to do it. And then sure enough, like, there he is, just super awesome. And the music was fun. He brought his own rhythm section. They were incredible. Just the whole production was so good. And he was so personable. And one little quick note that, yeah, Dawn has played with lots of a variety of artists and worked at Disney for a summer and done cruise ships. And one thing, it was supposed to be also right at the Pepsi Center. Here's how the music business works. You were supposed to also play with The Who.
Yes. It was scheduled for October, I think. It was way back, like October 30th, maybe, something like that. And it got canceled because I can't remember which one of them.
I think it was Roger Daltrey, right? Wasn't it his voice?
So we actually got that show. I think they canceled like 3 or 4 shows in a row, and unfortunately Denver was one of them. Which, again, the beauty of professionalism and things that are that big, we got paid in full. I mean, it got canceled, I think, 5 days before the show. And so, we were scheduled to do it all day, and we got paid in full, which is huge, but disappointing because I was super looking forward to that. So they got rescheduled. And so, unfortunately, then when I got rescheduled, I was going to be out of town in San Francisco for a gig with Mont Alto. And so I wasn't able to do that one. But as it turns out, that one got canceled. My gig to San Francisco got canceled. That was all in May. And so it never happened again. So I don't know if it's going to maybe get rescheduled again, and hopefully I get to do it this time. But yeah.
No, I was speaking with Brian Knott, and he said that it got officially canceled again because of the this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
So it's funny, a double whammy. You don't get to do it. So it's that thing. Some things are great, and then some things fall through, and you got to just keep plugging away.
Yeah.
So we like to mix and match talking and music in here. So Don and I recorded this funky tune of mine, and for those of you that might not be aware, I do a lot of stuff with Ableton Live recording program, but it's also built for live performance, and I've always been excited about putting effects on my trombone. So I thought it'd be fun if I did some of that to Don's trumpet. So check out a little of this, and then we're going to talk about it. That was Intangible Attraction, a song from my second CD, and I did a remix with the DKO ElektroHornz, of which Don's a part. And if you're kind of going, wait, that doesn't sound like a trumpet, I was putting this sort of wah effect on it, and I'm a big fan of the Brecker brothers, Randy and Michael Brecker, from back in the 70s, and they were sort of, them and Miles Davis were kind of these ones that were pushing the envelope and doing some more electric jazz. I've always found that sound very cool, so it was fun to sort of introduce that here to Dawn's playing. And so how was that? What was that experience like?
Yeah, it's because I haven't done much of that with you, even because your whole setup, I don't have any of that stuff to practice with it. So it is kind of interesting. And I was just playing, and then you were doing the effects to it. So it is kind of like I'm giving control to you on what to do. Usually you don't do that with your brother. Control.
No, that's bad.
So, but yeah, super fun because it really just adds a whole other element. This is kind of off topic, but not really. I think the thing that you like about doing that stuff and kind of the electronic stuff is just that it's not repeating what has happened up until this point with even the same song or whatever. So you're doing it to songs that you've actually already recorded with just real horns. And now you're actually adding little snippets into it. I
call those ear candy. Little ear candy. Okay.
No, let's come up with a different name. But I was watching this. This is actually interesting because I watched this movie last night called, I think it was from 2014, 100-year journey. No, not 100-year, 100-foot journey. And it's about an Indian family who moves to France and starts a restaurant, and they're living across the street from a French restaurant. And so they're kind of in odds with each other, but so it's 100 feet away from each other, but they end up being friends. The whole point being, he was really an incredible Indian cook. And so then he wanted to start learning French cuisine. And then he added these little extra things. Like he started doing spices with cardamom but doing like, the typical thing. I think it was beef bourguignon. And so then he added like an extra little Indian spice that was unusual. And so somebody said, why would you do that? It's like 200 years of tradition that you're messing with. And he's just like, I think 200 years has been long enough. And I thought that was really interesting because it's like, I get the point of knowing where things came from and the tradition of things, but then I think it's interesting to kind of give your own edge to it. And so that's what I think is interesting about your music is that it's not like it's just coming out of nowhere. It's all steeped in tradition still, but then you're adding an extra little element to it.
Yeah, well, that's nice to hear because actually I do think about that, and that is sort of the intent because I'm a jazz musician at heart, and then I write a lot of music and produce it, but then you kind of want to do the next thing. And one of my heroes too is I know you've listened to a lot of Miles Davis, and he was that. It was like real inside jazz, and then kind of got more adventurous, and then real adventurous, and then started doing the jazz fusion. And then by the end, he's playing Michael Jackson and Cyndi Lauper covers, It's like, and they'd ask him, but he'd already done those other things. So, we have one life. Let's move forward and try to put your own stamp on it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so let's listen to a little piece of this. You're kind of known, everyone who's played with you in Colorado and beyond always admires your great trumpet sound. And then one thing that you always also play is a flugelhorn, which is the larger bore trumpet, big trumpet. And so here's Dawn playing a little bit on this song of mine called Endless Tears. Sounds so good.
Yeah.
And it's so fun for us to play together in unison and just try to blend where you can't decipher. Is it trumpet? Is it flugelhorn? Who's playing? That's the goal, right?
Yeah, that's what's I love playing flugelhorn. That's one of my favorites. Some people actually don't like playing it, and I don't understand that really. Other than, it's quite different than trumpet. But it blends so well. It blends really great with trombone. It blends well with French horn. I play in a group called the Boulder Brass in town, and Mike Allen has done a ton of arrangements for an 11-piece brass group, and it's generally 4 trumpets, but it's kind of high trumpets. There's like piccolo on some stuff, D trumpet, E flat trumpet, B flat trumpet, and then usually the 4th chair is flugelhorn. And that's usually my chair, which is great. And so, because then I'm sitting next to the two French horns, so it kind of blends in with them. I'm playing a lot of stuff with the bones. It's
And
like
that's like very similar to, that's funny you said 11 piece. I didn't really realize that that's what Boulder Brass was, because then our good friend Will Swindler has a group 11 Net, who I just featured earlier this month on Sonic Tonic, and he featured a brand new song that we all piecemealed together with our videos from home, called Mechanisms. And that's all about blending, right? And it's all in the style of Miles Davis, Gil Evans, right? This real French horn, flugel, trumpet, mutes, bass clarinet, flute. I mean, it's a really neat thing to play those kind of different things compared to, say, the song we first started out with today. You know, that's the cool thing about music. It's like you get to, and drinks are the same way. I feel like a beer today. Now I just want iced tea. Now I want water. Then you want some really rich espresso coffee. You know, it gets really, there's a lot of variety in the spice of life.
Yeah. And it's been funny during this time period, because there's a lot of reasons to kind of look for something to do. And so, like, sometimes I'm actually just kind of on a process of, I want to look up these photos from from 3 years ago or whatever. And then I come across videos, and then I come across music, and it's bringing all of these. I'm really kind of listening to a variety of stuff more than I have in the past year, probably, just because you have time to do it. And then it's just like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about this style of music or this style of music. And so then you kind of delve into it for a few days, and then you move into something else, and that's fun, instead of just listening to the same stuff all the time.
That's
drinking. That's
so right. Yeah. Take a chance, and then if you don't like it, you can always go back to your old ways. That's another thing too, So the final mention of this music side of it is talking about variety. Now, tell them a little bit about this silent movie project you've been part of for over a decade.
Yeah, what is it? It's like maybe 14 years or something, which is one of my longest running gigs. And one of the most odd. It's called the Mont Alto Motion Picture Orchestra. And Rodney Sauer is a pianist that lives in Louisville, Colorado. Not Louisville, Louisville, Colorado. And he he started this group, I think, 20 some years ago. And so it's him and the clarinet player Brian Collins. They're the two founding members of it. It's just a quintet. So it's violin, cello, quintet 5, violin, cello, clarinet, and piano. And so, speak of weird, I was going to say that about the 11 Net too. That's so interesting. It's like when you have a bigger group like that, and with the Boulder Brass, you have an opportunity to have different instrumentation in there that kind of, bridges that gap of it seems like there's a little bit of a hole even that a third trumpet player can't do or something. So it's like that's flugelhorn or whatever. The weird instrumentation with this, it seems super weird. One brass instrument with Mont Alto, one woodwind, 2 string players, and then piano. Oddly, it works great. And so we play the real, authentic, original music from that time period, which is 1910s and 1920s for all the silent movies back then. And there was just this huge library, and Rodney somehow got into it, 25 years ago or something, and started collecting this music. And so we play, it's usually written for big orchestras, because there used to be like in LA, the big orchestras would be playing the silent movies in theaters. Like that was their gig. So they would play like 2 or 3 movies a week. It was different music. They got to put their own score together, but it would be like a 75-piece orchestra doing it. Some places, most often, it was just a pianist, and he was doing a lot of improvising. But a lot of times it was 3 to 4 to 5 people. And so we're playing the original stuff, but then we're just playing a bunch of cues. So I'm playing horn cues and bassoon cues, and then all the trumpet stuff. clarinets playing flute cues sometimes, violins playing flute cues, so that it all kind of like it fills in the gaps of like if there's a hole or who has the melody or whatever.
Yeah, it's very dense, right? There's a lot of, it's a high level group of musicians because the music is demanding it. And so I want to hear you say a few more things about it, but let's just play a little clip here so people can refresh their, it'll definitely jog your memory because this is kind of this old school thing, but when you get inside it, it's really beautiful music and the movies are quite good. Here's a little clip. Just a clip from Mothers of Men, an old silent movie being performed by the Mont Alto Motion Picture Orchestra. My name is Darren Kramer. This is Sonic Tonic Experience, and our guest this week is my sister Dawn Kramer, professional trumpet player. She's the trumpet that you heard in that music there, and this is just a very unique gig that she's been playing for 14 years. And so tell us a little bit about not necessarily the music, but these unique cast of characters.
Yes, it's yeah, I'm fortunate to know a lot of crazy fun people.
Yeah,
tend to be that way, but this group in particular really kind of takes the cake because it's not only some of the best music. I mean, the actual music that I'm playing is great, but the musicians are so good and so at the top of their game. When, you know, Britt Swenson is the violinist, and it doesn't get much better than that, if at all. She went to Juilliard, and fortunately she landed here in Colorado. So she's one of my very best friends and just a great violinist and great person. But she is also a comedian, and so she has one woman shows. She actually did stand up for a while. She was part of the Groundlings in LA. She's had quite a variety of experiences as well, but she's one of the funniest and strangest people, and anyone that knows her knows exactly what they're talking about. She speaks with all these different accents, and so when we're rehearsing, we'll go from like just beautiful music, and then we stop playing, and then all of a sudden it's just chaos. Like, you know, everyone's laughing, she's doing something crazy, and then Rodney is also one of the wittiest and most intelligent people I've ever met. So he always has something funny to say, and it's unlike any other rehearsal situation that you can imagine, because it's professional, but it's not like rigid, you know. It's like we get our stuff done, but then it's like we always take a break during our rehearsals, like halfway through, and somebody brings a snack. That's one of the big things is like, and I like to bake, Rodney likes to bake, actually all of us. I think Brian isn't as big of a baker, but he always brings something too. And so we have a snack and like just sit around and chat and maybe talk about an upcoming gig. But it's a lot of silliness and great music. And so it's like pretty much every time I walk away from that situation, I'm just excited and happy.
Yeah, and I can attest to that because I've been fortunate to be invited to play trombone on some of these special movies that they needed more crazy sounds and stuff, and the trombone gives it that. Sometimes I know that Don and me have been crying from laughter and cannot play. We're supposed to be playing in the rehearsal, but we're just dying laughing. Anyway, that's what I think life and music is all about.
Yes.
And so let's play a little clip of this really cool segment of a movie. What was the movie called?
Why Be Good?
Why Be Good. Yes, and there's a little lighter thing. There's some jazz stuff in it. So Rodney invited me to be part of it, and we did several shows, including at the Telluride Film Festival, which happened a couple years ago. Mont Alto goes there every other year, and they've done all these great things for TCM and in New York City at Lincoln Center. And so go check out Mont Alto. They're a serious entity. But this little segment here that we're going to end the music with was called Sweet Adeline, and it's a scene where there's two guys and they're drunk and they're talking, but then we're playing our trumpet and trombone with plunger mutes, and it lets it kind of ensue to this hilarious thing. And the laughing you hear is the actual audience at one of the performances. So check this out. That stuff is fun. Thank you, Rodney, for inviting me to be part of it. And, I always have loved the plunger thing, and so then I just wrote a tune about for the Phat Tuesday kind of celebration that happens every year in New Orleans, and Don and I just went down there with some of our family and my girlfriend and stuff, and for the Jazz Education Network conference that happened, and sort of inspired me to write a little ditty in the New Orleans second, kind of street beat sort of thing. So here's Don and I playing some trumpet over modern electro funk New Orleans-y music. This is called Phat Tuesday.
Check. No love, Mardi Gras, I can't help but party, y'all. Laissez-faire, throw up your hands in the air. Dance and romance, love at first glance. This is your last chance, ripping to South France. Culture, fine cuisine. MC pause, ElektroHornz be the team. We celebrate, elevate, never ever hesitate. Put it in your soul, DJ to the
That's Phat Tuesday. You can check all that stuff out on ElektroHornz, my new group featuring 4 live brass players with my Ableton rig. It's really exciting, fun stuff. So happy Dawn's here with us today, sharing her insight on being a freelance trumpet player. And just know that she's available. It's been a strange time this year with gigs, but there's been some live stuff happening now around Colorado, and Dawn's available for gigs. She plays many styles: jazz, classical, Latin, and she teaches lessons. Dawn, why don't you tell them what probably your number one love and hobby is?
Ooh, well, it's kind of a split thing. I would say it's animals and cooking. So together that kind of creates vegetarian and vegan stuff.
Wait, no, cooking animals is not vegan.
Animals. I've been vegetarian about 10 years now. And it just connected with me all of a sudden, like how much in love I am with dogs, obviously, and cats and pets in general. But then, like, when I would see a baby cow, it just like kills me. And so I'm just like, how, for me, I just had to put it together and stop doing that, and contributing to the inhumane treatment of animals and that kind of thing. So it just led me down this whole other path, which has been super fun, of cooking and baking. I mean, I was cooking and baking before, but the baking thing I thought was going to suffer from not using any animal products at all. So that means no eggs, no butter, no milk. And I just discovered that it's absolutely not a necessity. In fact, I would say a lot of the stuff that I make now is better than the version I was making before with all that stuff. So yeah, it's been such an interesting learning experience, just trying to figure that out, like learning about the science of it. You know, what does an egg actually do in baking? And so what can you substitute for it? And, you know, I mean, it's better for everybody. It's better for the planet. It's better for the animals, obviously. It's better for you. It has no cholesterol then. So that's the basic. I'm still using sugar. So it's not like I'm not, and I'm using fat, you know, you still use oil and stuff like that. So that's what's going to make it good. But it's not detrimental to the planet or animals or your body necessarily. So,
and so what are a couple of your what are your top 3 or 4 things you love to cook, bake?
Well, in terms of baking, I would say my number one discovery that I like the best is a chocolate chip cookie, which that seems super boring, and there's a million recipes for them out there. But I'm willing to go against any chocolate chip cookie out there with my recipe. And I can call it my recipe. I developed it kind of from a couple other things, but that one and my cinnamon roll recipe, I can call my own. Cupcake, I have a really good chocolate cupcake recipe. That one is like somebody else's, but so yeah, it's just yeah, it's fun, and I like to eat. So.
And I can personally attest to, I've gone through this whole I'm a guinea pig through a lot of this.
True.
And it's been years, right? And it's always so good. And one thing that's interesting, I'm not vegetarian, and I love desserts too. And I'm kind of that mentality, though, if it isn't great, why do it? Once it gets past here, there's no benefit. It's all negative. So I have decent control that way, so I can just set it down and go, that ain't it. And there's so many mediocre desserts in the world, and it's just amazing that everything you make is like a 9 or a 10. So how do you do that?
Well, thank you. I actually would disagree with that. What's funny about you, Darren, and is that in fact, it just happened a couple of weeks ago. I made a recipe. I wanted to kind of see if I could do an easier recipe of a chocolate chip cookie. And it was fine, but it was not good. It wasn't the same quality at all. And so they got left as rejects just sitting on the counter. And then I went up to the mountains. But then Darren brings up to me that he's been eating them this whole time. And so he still liked them, even though they were very, they had their issues. They still were tasty. But so that's very kind of you to say, because I think that there's definitely some stuff that is like lower on the list and that have been failures. But that being said, I know now, I love looking at cookbooks and reading recipes and just comparing ingredients and amounts of stuff. And so I kind of know what works and what doesn't. And so even if I'm doing a new recipe, I kind of think, oh, but that actually says that. I'm going to tweak it. Even with baking, people say baking is such a science, and it is, but I'm not meticulous about measuring stuff. I do fine with it, but it's more of just a feel thing, and it comes with time. It's like we watched our grandma cook. She made the best chocolate cake ever, and chocolate pie, and she never measured anything. So, it's just kind of, it comes with time. You just learn. It's like anything, the more you do it.
Yeah. And one thing I like that you mentioned, though, is that you, and I think a lot of people who have had your chocolate chip cookies, which, by the way, you can buy these from Dawn with her bake shop called Sherelle's Bake Shop, but that you were trying to find maybe a better taste, a better way, and a faster, easier way to make them, and then you're saying is kind of a failure, but really it's so cool to when someone already has something pretty good, and then you reach outside of that because there could still be a better way. And that takes guts and a little experimentation, but then really you learn a lot from it.
Yeah, totally. And then cooking. I mean, I also just love to cook also. And that is way more just you taste as you go and you kind of throw stuff in. And that's pretty fun because you don't have to wait until the end result. Like with baking, you have to wait until it comes out of the oven to really know if it was a success or not. With cooking, you can tweak it along the way. It's kind of like that with drinks too, which is fun. It's like, sometimes I'll taste it, and it really does depend on the fresh ingredients. So like with this watermelon, if it wouldn't, I had to add a little extra. Sometimes a watermelon's super sweet, and so you just taste it and then you adjust, which is fun.
That's a good metaphor for life. And so if people are out there and going, man, I've thought about it, and I know a few vegetarians, but I just can't do it, and they're eating meat 5 days a week, what is like one step that you think that would help them take this, kind of open this door for them?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, there are so many good products out there now. I've been doing this for like 10 years or so, and when I first started, I was kind of anti any of the fake meats, because they weren't good. But now, I don't know if anyone has tried an Impossible Burger. Those are at Burger King now. And then Beyond Meat burgers are at Carl's Jr. And I think they maybe are at tacos at Del Taco and stuff like that. Anyway, please give it a try, because that to me, I mean, every time I've gotten it a few times, like the Impossible Burger, and every time I'm kind of checking it, like I double, like, because I can't believe that it's not meat. And again, I haven't had it for 10 years, but you have, and my dad like sometimes gets it, and I'm just like, why would you get anything else? So
it is great, I have to say. Yeah,
there's certain things, and then like the Beyond Meat brats. So if you feel like you really want something super meaty, go for those. Like Impossible, Beyond, Gardein, all the frozen Gardein stuff is killer. They have fish sticks, and so those aren't super healthy. I'm saying it's still processed. It's not terrible though, and there's no cholesterol, and it's high in protein. It's still, you're getting all of those good things with it, and then it tastes.
And then the other thing that you get the pre-made meals from Purple Carrot.
Yes, Purple Carrot, and that is super fun. I used to be like kind of against that. I use like Blue Apron, and I don't know, there's several of those kind of meal planning things that they just come and then you actually cook it, but they send all the ingredients. I've learned so much, and just like the little extra things from Purple Carrot that make it absolutely, like, takes it another level up. And so you do a couple of those, and then it's just like, oh, I can do that on my own. Then you do it a little bit cheaper, getting your own ingredients and that stuff. But I would highly recommend that. That's, if anyone likes to cook, try a Purple Carrot box, or I actually have a bunch of free ones that I can give. If you're interested in getting a free Purple Carrot box, let me know, and I can send you the email. So, because I probably have 5 loaded up, and I've done it with Darren and his girlfriend. And so now they get them occasionally too. So yeah.
And there's another 2 cents too. You grow some of your own herbs in your backyard, but there's also this other cool thing called a tower garden that you can buy from Juice Plus that is basically as high as me, 6 feet, and it has water running through it. There's no soil, and you literally put baby plants in it, and the pump turns on every 15 minutes and waters them, and the food grows in 3 weeks. And you can be eating fresh greens right there inside. You can put it in your garage or in your house during the winter and have like fresh vegetables all the time. And when you're having that right from the source, there's no comparison to like some really lame, grocery store that picks this stuff when it's all barely ripe. And by the time it gets there, it hasn't had normal water or soil. So it's something to check out, a tower garden.
We were just at our friend Susie Germany's the other day for her 50th birthday surprise. Well, it wasn't a surprise. She planned the party. I I didn't know it was her birthday. So, but she has an incredible garden. And so then it turned into this whole thing where she was giving all of her like herbs and she had tons of lettuce, and I got this awesome onion, white onion, and a bunch of zucchini and stuff. And I just had a salad yesterday with her lettuce, and it's just like fresh lettuce from the garden is unbeatable. And spinach, like it's just, it doesn't need to be better than that. So it's like, if you get that kind of thing, you're not going to miss others. It's like at the point, there's so many alternatives. So
there is, and it's all about quality over quantity, which is what is neat, to analyze why you love something and then try to get more of that, try to do more of that. Okay, so we got to at least show a few photos. You've been a dog lover your whole life, and we grew up on a farm and had horse and chickens and ducks and dogs and cats. And but you've had 3 very cute dogs so far, and just give us a little short thing on your first 2, and then let's talk about your current dog.
My first one I got when I was in 9th grade. It was my grandma's neighbor had puppies. Well, my grandma's neighbor's dog had puppies. And the little runt was left, and so Mom suggested we go get her. And so her name was Coquette. She was, I don't know, when we got her, she was like the size of our hand. She was super tiny. And at her biggest, she was like 6 pounds, just a little black kind of poodle mix of some sort, but just the best thing in the world. Like, yeah, so she was great. Had her for almost 18 years. So that was a nice thing. Then I got Calvin, who I had for almost 14 years, and he was a little Jack Russell. I just lost him almost exactly a year ago.
Yeah.
He was just, exactly what you would want out of a Jack Russell, like super smart, super funny personality. Just the best. He got me through a lot of times. So it was like, he's hugely missed, but so I did this kind of crazy thing. I'm usually a person who has to like kind of mull over something before I do it. I had been fostering puppies for about a year or so. Even when I had Calvin, I was fostering some puppies just because I had this inkling to hold some puppies. And so it's through the Colorado Puppy Rescue, which is a great organization. If anyone's actually wanting to like save some animals but still really want a puppy, this is a great way to do it. And if you just want to foster, they still need fosters too, which seems crazy to me. You just got to play with a puppy for like 3 days, and then they put them up for adoption, and then it's just going to a good home. And so I've had maybe 5 batches of that, like 2 or 3 puppies at a time, and it's been awesome. But so after Calvin died, I got a group. That was good. Then finally I got the next, I got 2 puppies in October last year. And I don't know, something just kind of felt different. I just thought, I think this is going to help me like get over Calvin, and maybe it's time to adopt a dog. So I got little Oliver, which this is, I have this blanket here that I made for him. So there's his little cute name. And then there was that's what he looked like. And so he was it was the most ridiculous. He and his brother were like the cutest puppies in the entire world, like fluffy and sweet. And so oddly, that was like kind of a sort of spur of the moment decision, but it ultimately has just changed my life. And to have him through this whole COVID period has been great, because like we go out on walks every day, and he's hilarious. So he's laying here. He's not being interesting at all, which is kind of odd. I don't know if we can see him.
Oh, we can see him.
Hi, buddy.
That's not a puppy.
No, he's giant.
Yeah. Look.
Oh, hi, bud. So he's going to be 11 months here in a couple days. So.
And you posted something on Facebook a couple of weeks ago of him howling with your trumpet playing as you're warming up. That's like a hilarious thing. And do you think he actually is annoyed, or does he enjoy it?
I think he enjoys it. Well, the thing that's funny is because Calvin, as soon as I even like acted like I was going to pick up my trumpet, he would split. So Calvin would hate it.
And I know he didn't like the trombone for sure.
No, he hated all of it. So he would never even sit in the same room with me. But Oliver, I'll sit with the door open and he chooses to sit in there with me and just, he makes noises. And it's only when I'm warming up, really. Like, it's doing long tones and slurs. It does something to him. It's very weird. And I think he actually kind of sings the pitches and the volume that I'm doing, and it's crazy.
But so, just to be clear, you're not, no one should accuse you of animal abuse then.
I think if anyone knows me, it's like these animals are about as lucky as they're luckier than most people in the universe. So.
I will second that. There's a lot of people that spoil their animals, and
Yes.
you're one of them.
I am one of them.
And it's funny you mentioned about the through the quarantine, how interesting, because my girlfriend Julie then got her little kitten, who is one of the cutest animals you've ever seen, and his personality, his name's Milo, a little fluffy white kitten. I'll put the photo up here. I mean, but it's a great way to spend your time, right? And a lot of times, I think a lot of people think this around the world. Animals, in a lot of ways, are better than people.
Yes. And absolutely, because they're not contrary. I mean, Oliver has his own opinions about stuff for sure, but mostly he's just good company. Like, he's with me. I've never had this with a dog. Like, he's with me all the time. I get up and walk to another room. He comes with me. We're attached at the hip, and it's like, it really has kind of changed. I don't know what this would have been like, not having him or not having Calvin or whatever. Like, and just feeling, it's just a good reason to get up and be excited and laugh. And I smile at him like 1,000 times a day, probably. So that's good.
Yeah. So we're running out of time, but Dawn, thanks so much for taking the time and sharing your time and talent with us, because this is very entertaining, but I'm always big of it to be inspiring and educational. And so thanks for some of this insight about the music and your love for baking and taking care of animals. I hope people get a lot out of this.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So again, you can contact Dawn through her Facebook page, Dawn Kramer, and buy some of her cookies and baked goods, Sherelle's Bake Shop, and you won't be disappointed. I can guarantee it. We're going to end here with a tune called Not Far From Here that was kind of like a slow R&B ballad 15 years ago, and then I decided, man, I'm going to revisit that thing and make a dance remix out of it. And so then I wrote some new horn parts, and it really turned out nice. And so it came out earlier this year, and it's part of the DKO ElektroHornz. And so we're going to end here with Dawn and I playing with that track, and sound really good. Thanks for playing, and thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks, Darren.
Okay. Enjoy this, everyone. This is Not Far From Here, the dance remix by ElektroHornz. See you next time.